Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a technique that could totally revolutionize the way you run. It's called the hip oval, and honestly, it's all about unlocking a powerful engine you probably didn't even realize was there.
So, let me just start with this question. What if the key to running faster, and with way less effort, isn't actually about your legs at all? What if it's not about pushing harder with your quads? What if that secret is hiding somewhere else entirely?
Yep, you guessed it. The secret is in your hips. We're talking about a powerful, forward-rolling engine that can transform your stride from just a simple up and down plod into a seriously propulsive, forward-driving cycle. And that's the whole idea we're unpacking today.
Okay, so before we can put any of this into practice, we first have to get a really clear picture of it in our minds. So for this first part, let's just focus on visualizing what this hidden engine actually looks like, and more importantly, how it moves.
So what exactly is the hip oval? Well, I want you to imagine a big wheel right there on the side of your hip socket, kind of like the wheel on an old steam train. As you run, this wheel is just constantly rolling forward. Now pay attention to the direction. The top of that wheel is moving forward, which brings your knee up and over. Meanwhile, the bottom of the wheel, that's pulling backward against the ground. And that backward pull, that's where all the magic happens.
Right. But that brings up a really important question. If it's a wheel, why are we calling it an oval and not a circle? Well, the shape here is absolutely key to understanding why this is so darn efficient.
You see, a perfect circle would mean you're wasting a ton of energy just bouncing up and down. That's useless vertical movement. An oval, though, is flattened. It cuts down on that inefficient bounce and puts all that energy into horizontal stride length. And you know what? This is a perfect example of why modern supershoes work so well. That foam and those carbon plates, they literally compress when you land, and in doing so, they help flatten that circle into a power-generating oval for you.
Here's a great way to visualize it. Just think of a flat tire. It's not a perfect circle, right? It's got that long, flat section at the bottom. Well, that long, bottom edge of your hip oval means your foot gets to spend just a little more time on the ground during that crucial power phase. That lets you really engage the shoe's tech and pull the ground backward for some serious propulsion.
So now that we can kind of see the shape in our heads, let's look at how it all comes together. We can actually break down this smooth, continuous oval into 4 distinct parts of a power cycle.
Listen, if you remember just one thing from this entire explainer, please make it this mantra. Over the top, scrape the bottom. This simple phrase, it's the master command for the entire technique. This is the thought that should be on a loop in your head when you're out there running. Let's break down what it really means.
The over-the-top part, that covers the first quadrant, where your hip drives up and forward. Then comes the drop-in, where your foot just drops straight down underneath you. You're not reaching. And here it is, the most important part. Scrape the bottom. This is your power phase. This is where your hip pulls straight back, almost like you're scraping sticky mud off the bottom of your shoe. And finally, the fold, where your hip folds back up to do it all over again. Over, drop, scrape, fold. That's the cycle.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how do you actually make this happen on your next run? Let's get practical. Here is a super simple 3-step activation plan that's going to help you build this new muscle memory layer by layer.
Now the key here is don't try to do everything all at once. For your first mile, just focus on step 1, the pedal visualization. I just want you to imagine you're riding a tiny little bicycle. Focus only on that over-the-top motion to get the rhythm down. Then in mile 2, you move to step 2, the deep seat. Just sink your center of gravity a little bit. You'll feel this helps flatten the oval. And finally, in mile 3 and beyond, that's when we add the power with step 3, the mud scrape. The moment you feel that shoe compress onto you, consciously pull the ground backward.
So how are you going to know when it's all clicking into place? Well, your body's going to give you some very specific feedback. First, you'll feel this sense of a perpetual fall, like you're always just tipping forward. Your hips will feel loose and fluid, like greased sockets. Instead of your quads burning, you'll feel this kind of dull tension in your hamstrings and glutes. We call those quiet glutes. And maybe most importantly, your head won't be bobbing up and down. You'll get this awesome, stable horizon. Now, as with any new skill, there are a few common pitfalls you might run into, but please don't think of these as failures. They're just opportunities to fine-tune your technique, and honestly, to prevent injuries down the road.
So the first big mistake is what we call the back pedal. This happens when you get a little too excited and you try to start scraping backward before your foot has even hit the ground. The fix is so simple. Patience. Just be patient. Let your foot land fully, feel the shoe compress, and then start the scrape. Next up is the hula hoop. This is when that rotation turns into a big, exaggerated side-to-side swing. That's a fast track to IT band issues.
The fix? Just remember that this whole thing is a forward rolling motion. The rotation should be subtle, just a couple of inches, not some dramatic swing.
And finally, especially for all of you running in those high-stack super shoes, watch out for the lazy foot. If you focus too much on what your hip is doing, it's easy to forget about your foot and end up catching a toe on the pavement. The fix is easy. Just keep your ankle locked with your toes pointing slightly up as your leg swings through. It's called active dorsiflexion, and it just ensures you've got enough clearance.
So as we wrap all this up, I really want to bring it back to that one single most important takeaway, the one mental cue that kind of governs this entire system, whether you're just starting out or you're trying to fine-tune things. Always come back to this. Over the top, scrape the bottom.
I'll leave you with one last thought to take with you on your next run. See, most runners think about pushing the ground away behind them. The hip oval completely flips that idea on its head. It's not about pushing, it's about pulling the ground towards you. So the question is, on your next run, are you going to be a pusher or are you going to be a puller?